Thank you.
بسم الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره العظيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وأزواج أمهات المؤمنين وذريات أهل البيت كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم إني أسألك من كل خير سألك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم وأعوذ بك من كل شر استعاذك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا وما أنت أعلم منا ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من فتنة المحيا والممات ومن فتنة القبر ومن فتنة المسيح الدجال ومن عذاب النار وسوء المصير اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد رضي الله عن أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم يا همة الشيخ أهدرنا بهذا المحضر وطأتي بنظرة تأتي لنا بالظهر أما بعد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to our weekly Maliki Fiqh class with our teacher Shaykh Ameen Abdul Awal. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we've been doing this class for some months now and benefiting immensely. Even in the midst of the pandemic, where we can't go out and be in each other's company like we want, we still have the ability to actually take information from one of the most qualified, I might argue most qualified people in this part of the world to teach us this information. Shaykh Ameen Abdul Awal has been studying and learning the Maliki method for more than 5 decades. I can attest to how personally I've been transformed by spending time with him. And alhamdulillah, I'm congratulating you all, as my brother Imam Ahmed would always say, we're congratulating you for being here and being among the people who are benefiting from this information. And the dua that I make every week and even outside of class is that I'm praying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all to get this information, understand this information, remember the information, and implement the information in the way that is pleasing to him, bijaya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one of the things that, alhamdulillah, we know is the importance of silsila or isnad. We're studying from someone in Shaykh Ameen, who studied from someone, Dr. Suleiman Dunya, who studied from someone, all the way back to one who studied from the Sahabas, who took this information from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have protection in that line, right? Let's say you or I, we get this information and we make an honest mistake in our attempt to apply this information, understand this information. We put forth our best effort, but we make an honest mistake. We have this silsila, this strong silsila of these qualified people, these righteous people, not only people who knew the information, but also lived it and were upright to stand for us on the day of judgment. So if there's any mistake that was made throughout that line, alhamdulillah, we have the protection, as opposed to if we were just reading the books for ourselves and trying to figure out, trying to grope around in the dark and do our best, we wouldn't have that protection. And we know that from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he asked one of his trusted sahabas, he was sending him to go be a judge to help guide the people. And he asked him, how will you guide the people? And the Sahaba said, I'm going to take my rulings from the Quran. And then he said, what if you don't find it in the Quran? I said, then I'm going to take it from your Sunnah. And he said, what if you don't find it there? Then he said, I'm going to make ijtihad, which is a word that comes from the same root as struggle. I'm going to struggle to try to find the best ruling based on what I have in the Quran and the Sunnah and based on my wisdom. And the Prophet ﷺ congratulated him, told him this was the right way. And the Prophet ﷺ informed us that the judge who is qualified, who has the proper qualifications and take this proper procedure, who gets a correct ruling, they get 2 rewards, right? They get the reward for being qualified and following the right procedure and finding the right ruling. And the one who makes a mistake, they get 1 reward, right? They get the reward for following the right procedure and putting forth the right effort. But the person who doesn't follow the right procedure, the person who just, makes up something from their mind or something like that to try to judge as to an Islamic ruling, even if they get the ruling right, they don't get any reward. So alhamdulillah, we're thankful to be among the people who are blessed with a more than qualified teacher, you know, that we can be in that line, and we can inshallah fall in that category. I always forget to say, so I'm going to take a moment to say now, this class is being brought to you by Nasr Ilm America, which is a philanthropic organization started by some of the students of Sheikh Hassan Sisi, and we're also students of Sheikh Ameen. And we asked Sheikh Ameen if he would be willing to teach this class during the pandemic, and he agreed, but he's been teaching this information in person for many, many years, many decades. He's been teaching at the Islamic Cultural Center of New York City. So inshallah ta'ala, when the pandemic is over, I encourage you to go and spend some time with him in person. Or inshallah, by then, maybe we'll have an even better situation, you know, have our own institution, inshallah, where Sheikh Ameen will be teaching. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to my teacher, and I'm going to encourage you all to break out your notebooks, break out your pens, or if you're on your computer, take notes on your computer, because, you know, we don't want to be among the people who have access to this information. We did everything up to even coming to the class, but then we don't take care to actually preserve it. And we don't take care to be studious in how we retain it and understand it and implement it. So get your pens, your pencils, your notebooks, your laptops, and take notes, inshallah ta'ala. And inshallah, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat, right? Or at the very least, write them down in some kind of way, so that when Sheikh Ameen opens up for questions and answers, you can type your question, or you can raise your hand and ask the question. And inshallah, we will get answers to those questions. Bismillah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Ameen.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala ashrafil mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad wa sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa tabi'ina lahu bi insan illa yawmiddin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin an-nabiyil ummi wa azwajihi ummahatil mu'minin wa zurriyatihi wa ali bayt. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahim innaka hamidun majid. Wa sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa salama tasliman kathira. And abad. So sometimes, you know, when Dr. Rasul is given the opening address, you know, and he mentions that, you know, that I put in my work with Dr. Dunya. But in regards to knowing about and knowledge of these things, I can't compare myself in the slightest little way to Dr. Suleiman Dunya. Dr. Suleiman Dunya had more knowledge in one finger in his pinky than I have in my whole body for my whole life. So, you know, I want you to know I'm trying to give you what I can, but it's not the same. You know, I can't even suggest to you to go and find somebody like Dr. Suleiman Dunya, because I don't know about somebody like him. People in Egypt, when I was talking to them about that, they basically, you know, nobody wanted to take on that type of responsibility. You know, they say, you know, they would be foolish trying to talk about something that Dr. Dunya already explained. In any case, once my teacher told me about some things about death, you know, and because of the times that we're in right now, you know, it brings to light a lot of what he was teaching me about death and personal injury and situations that cause you problems. Well, you know, I've been accused of being a little bit cynical when it comes to death. And that's because, you know, I may understand some things about it differently than other people. one of the things that I understand is that death is something that must happen. And, you know, once it comes, there is no return or there's no changing of your position unless, you know, from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, he decides to, you know, give you something better. But a teacher told me that death is painful. And when he said death is painful, he didn't mean the physical pain like from a gunshot or some kind of wound or heart attack. That's not what he meant by death is painful. What he meant was that the separation from this worldly life to the next life, that separation that happens when death comes, that is painful. And he prepared us for that and told us, you know, that death is painful, you know. But of course, you know, he didn't mean like if you get stabbed or shot. I'm sure that's painful too, but that's not the type of painful he was describing. He was describing the separation from this life now to the next life that will come. In that case, we all have to feel something that's going to come to us. And we all going to, like, you know, lose loved ones and different people in our life, even our own life. But, you know, we have to understand that when that happens,
whatever.
That's just the end of this life. That's not the end of everything. So he once told me that don't be sad about the people when they die. You know, of course, the wife, she'll miss her husband, you know, and the husband, he'll miss his wife or his children or something like that. But the reason I always ask when they ask me about somebody and they tell me somebody dying, I say, well, was he a praying Muslim? You know, if he's a praying Muslim, alhamdulillah, then, you know, we're gonna hope for the best for him. But whatever he deserves or she deserves, that's ultimately what they're gonna receive.
Yeah.
So, you know, if they were praying Muslims, practicing Muslims, and we can, you know, say some words for them after they die, alhamdulillah, it may give them some kind of ease. Only Allah knows about that. But ultimately, we all going to receive what we deserve to the finest point. And for people who really want to help themselves, you can help yourself by not just making some dua for somebody, but if you've offended anybody in any kind of way or made their life difficult, now while you're still alive is the time that you should be asking pardon from that person. I hope you're listening to me, because this part of life right now is the opportunity to be forgiven for things that you've done against other people. If you don't take care of that now, and you wait and you go before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinking you're going to give a story to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say he's not listening to that. He's going to put the person who you've offended or given them a problem in life, the opportunity, you know, to deal with you themselves. Means when they'll make their complaint against you or I, and they will say, you know, well, you know, they did this to me, they did that to me, they made my life difficult, you know, they only cared about their own things and like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to that person, well, what do you got? What do you have to say? The person won't be able to tell any lies. The tongue at that time can only tell what's true. It won't be able to lie for you or make any difference. So depending on the severity of how they, you know, gave trouble to your life, either they will have to receive you will take their good deeds in comparison to what difficulty they gave you. And if you don't have any good deeds left to give them, then they will have to take your bad deeds to compensate for this problem. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, this problem he doesn't interfere with. So if you feel like you have done anything, be honest with yourself, be honest with the people you deal with. You feel like you're doing things wrong against them in some kind of way or making their life miserable, you should seek apology from them while you're still alive. And if they say, okay, I accept your apology, it's all right, don't worry about it, then that too will go before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You won't be able to change it back and say, oh no, I didn't mean I was going to accept it. No, you won't be able to do that. So, you know, if you could get that apology from somebody, or, you know, if you can apologize to somebody and they say, okay, we'll work past that to the next thing, inshallah, then that's a good way, because you can be forgiven now for those things. You don't want to have to be approached by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala later. And it doesn't matter how you die. See, I always emphasize this to people because, you know, people think if you die in your sleep, that's a pleasant way of death. That's a fabrication. That's in our mind. Doesn't mean that that's what actually happens. Because, you know, the Sahaba doing warfare, they died in some of the most violent ways that you could imagine. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, oh, don't worry about them.
So what you on is y'all getting ready now?
He said, don't worry about them. They're already with me. See? And these are people that their bodies were so mutilated that they didn't even have anything to bury. You know, the fingers were over here, the head was over there, and you know, it was terrible. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, don't worry about them. You know, they're already with me. So we know the way you die really doesn't matter. It's the way you live. Not the way you die. The way you live. So, you know, I want to emphasize that, you know, spend more time trying to perfect the way you live. And one of the best ways to do that is think about the other person. And we have a tendency to, like, you know, think ourselves. Everything is always about us, our personal self. And when we do that, we forget how we are affecting the other people. You know, we forget about the other people. And this is a problem when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, you know, we were so involved in our own personal thing, you know, that we kind of made life miserable for other people. In any case, I wanted to give you that information so that you will try and take care of this, you know, now while we're alive. You don't want to wait, go before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then try to fix up things that once death comes, there's no fixing. There's no fixing. Whatever you take with you, whatever good deeds you take with you, and whatever bad deeds, you know, you take with you, you're not going to be able to change that then. You know, So, make sure that you keep that in the front of your mind when you're dealing in your business and when you're dealing with other people. It's not the way you die, it's the way you live. Okay, Annabelle. The beginning of the optional time for Dhuhr is when the sun is in the middle, or what they call the meridian, or the zenith of the sky. And it begins to move towards the west. Before we say when the optional time of Dhuhr ends, some clarifications are in order. Okay. All things in this world, such as mountains and trees and rocks, etc., makes a shadow. A shadow is cast toward the west during the sun's rising. As the sun moves little by little towards the middle of the sky, the shadow in the west decreases. In some places, when the sun moves to the middle of the sky, the person will not find a shadow at all. This is when you are in a place on the earth called the equator. When you move north of the equator, your shadow is northwest while the sun is rising. And when you move south of the equator, your shadow is southwest while the sun is rising. If you don't understand, let me know now. Okay, so when I teach these subjects, usually before I get to a place that where I'm going to stop, I usually try to cover these things in such detail that if you just be a little patient, I'll try and make it so that you understand precisely, inshallah. Okay. Therefore, let us suppose that if you are in a time and a place where the sun is in the middle of the sky, and at that moment, you will not find the shadow around you. Then the sun begins to move towards the west, and a little shadow will begin to be seen towards the east. At that moment, when the shadow is seen towards the east, the time of Dhuhr begins. This is the beginning of the optional time of Dhuhr. The optional time of Dhuhr ends when the optional time of Asr begins. The optional time of Dhuhr ends when the optional time of Asr begins. Okay, let me see if I could talk in a different type of language that the people who speak English will be able to put it in their mind in a way that they won't forget. So because of I'm in New York City in America. Because of the way when the sun is in the meridian here, you're gonna find a shadow. When the sun is in its zenith in the middle of the sky, you're gonna find the shadow. That shadow will be small. That shadow will be small. And as the day goes on, that shadow will get longer. When it gets longer enough that the shadow is twice the size of the thing that is making the shadow from, that means that Asr is beginning. Again, because of our location on the earth, our shadow, when the sun is in its zenith or in the middle of the sky, our shadow will be small. But as the time goes on, the day goes on, the shadow, you can visually see it growing. When it grows to the length of the thing itself, you have to know that the optional time of Dhuhr is going to stop soon, and that will be when the shadow that is casting is twice the size of the thing that it's casting from. So in the Shadow Sagriya, they tell you, take a stick, put the stick down so that you can see its shadow. And if you keep looking over at the stick, you will see that the shadow is going to grow. It's going to grow bigger than the stick. When the shadow starts to grow bigger than the stick, you know that Asr time is getting ready to begin. So I guess, the average person of today, they will say, well, what's the point? Because, we got prayer books, we got the computer, we got our phones. Yeah. But those things are not considered the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The signs that the earth gives us, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us to know about these things this time, this is the sunnah. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is never known to have said, Zohar time comes in at 11:55. Never known to say that. Never known to say Asr comes in at 2:20. These are all things of modern age. So the ulama, to keep us on the right track in regards to knowledge, will tell us that, yes, those things are what they call a convenience. They're a convenience. And once you check and see that they are somewhat accurate, yes, you can use them, but they're not the best way. The best way is to know the knowledge of the signs of the created things. In this case, the person who understands and knows the signs is in a better condition for knowing the times of prayer than the person who has the azan on his phone. Like this. Sometimes, if you be in public or a public place where Muslims are, you'll hear azan go off at somebody's phone. And then 5 minutes later, you'll hear azan go off on somebody else's phone. And then 3 or 4 minutes after that, you hear the azan go off on somebody else's phone. Now, all of these azans can't be in the right exact place. See? Because these are created things by man. And, man has to process them to help them to be, accurate. He may be making a mistake on that. In any case, to know the signs is preferable. But if you don't know the signs and you have a difficulty maintaining this information, you are allowed to use your computer, your telephone, your prayer time calendar, but these things are not preferable. Sometimes I be with people and I start doing the things that shows that I'm preparing for the prayer, and they'll look at me because their computer didn't go off or their cell phone didn't go off, and they'll say, "What are you getting ready to do?" I'm getting ready to make my prayer. And as they're talking to me, as they're talking to me, their instrument will say, "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar." So that's to say that I really don't depend on those things. I depend on the signs, the notifications from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you never go wrong once you understand these things. You never go wrong. So inshallah, I just wanted to cover some of that today. See. Yeah, I just wanted to cover some of that today to get you started. Also, I want to tell you that these fiqh classes I'm giving online, they're not quite the same as the classes I give in the masjid. The information is basically the same. But what happens is when I give lessons in the masjid, everything is precisely in order. Sometimes when I'm teaching these classes online, I take kind of like a shortcut to get someplace. I end up giving the same information, but I just do it in a different way, just to whet your appetite on what it's like to learn fiqh. Like I was with Hajj Dawood, and we were in a restaurant, and Hajj Dawood was trying to explain to the proprietor about fiqh. And this is an Arab-speaking person. He had no idea what Hajj Dawood was talking about, because the average person does not learn fiqh. They learn something from the Quran, they learn something from the books of hadith, but the subject of fiqh, most people don't have any idea on the necessity of that to help them live their life precisely by the rules and regulations of Al-Islam. So my teacher, when he explained that, he said, well, it used to be a time in which everybody studied some branch of fiqh from some of the scholars of their era. But as time went on, you have some infiltration into Islam that kind of gave people the right to do whatever they wanted to do and call it fiqh or call it something, So my duty to you is to let you know that history is good for one precise thing, so that we know where the mistakes were made in the past, and we don't keep repeating those same mistakes over and over again. One of the problems that we're having today is that people abandon the study for fiqh. And as time went on, Islam started to look like something different than what it was intended to be like. And we know that came from the abandonment of the study of jurisprudence, of fiqh. So that now a person could read a book and believe that they have exact information about Islam, and try to teach it to other people, but they were never taught it. This is the absolute opposite of what Islam stands for. You can't teach something that you never learned, especially if you think you're going to teach it after reading a book. Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi said, the person who tries to learn Islam from a book has missed Islam altogether, has missed Islam altogether. So, if you don't know the value, I'm trying to explain to you the value so that no one can fool you. The difference of people having closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on different levels is going to be from their knowledge and their practice. Their knowledge and their practice. So all of these things that are happening to us today, the COVID and this problem and that, all of these things are things that allow us to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, depending on the way we deal with our problems. See? So what may appear to be a bad thing, if the person lives out their life practicing their Islam properly, in spite of the bad, or what we consider as the bad situations that come into your life, may not be bad for you at all. When you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're going to be happy that you had the life you had and these type of problems, because it allowed you to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your everlasting life. Okay, I'm going to stop right this minute. From Amir, okay. It changed so fast, I didn't read the whole thing. In any case, I'll listen now, Dr. Rasul.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Alaikum salam tullah.
Alhamdulillah. Bismillah. I see that question. Okay, someone asked, and alhamdulillah, so we're starting our question. If anybody who's new, I don't know if we have new people, but I know some people reached out to me, Shaykh, and said they might be coming either this week or next. So if we have anybody new, please type your questions in the chat, or if you have trouble typing, or if it's a long question, you can raise your hand and we can ask your questions. But I see this question here, and I see your hand, Brother Frank. We'll come to you next. This question is, can you explain the history of the course material, the Shar as-Saghir, and what other material or text should we study from to make it easier to learn for those who have difficulty understanding what is currently being taught?
Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. There is no shortcut. They have a lot of different literature, authors and like that. But I have to tell you, you can't trade in the best for something else and think that you're gonna be able to, and it's gonna be easier for you. No, what we have to do is we have to do our best to master what we have. Like if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send you Shah Sahir, He send the what is historically known as the best. And then, we say, well, we're not going to do the Shah Sahir because, it's a little difficult for us, but we're going to do this book over here. They have quite a few books on the Bab of Imam Malik. I even have some here in my home. But what I've found is that none of them are as specific or considered wholeheartedly as the best answer. See, even when I was in Egypt and a person was saying something from some book, and my translator said, well, he said that's supposed to be Imam Malik. I said, what? No, ask him to repeat that statement again. When he repeated the statement, I said to my translator, I said, look, I want you to say to him, we were in public, in a masjid, and he had a lot of people around him. I said, I want you to say to him exactly what I say to you, with the same tonal way, like, show disapproval. So, he said something. I said, well, what book did you get that from? Or who taught you that? Because the Shal Sagriya, Sheikh Ahmed Dadir, and the one who taught us from that book, Dr. Suleiman Dunya, disagree with you. He was in shock. He looked like he was in shock. He told the people, I don't know how he could know that much Islam from the English language, but in any case, what he's saying is true. Whatever I told you, you forget that, and you listen to what he's saying, because what he's saying is from a higher source than what I'm telling you from. It's like elementary school, it's like public school, elementary school, then junior high school, then high school, then university level. So, I can't point you in the direction backwards. I'm going to tell you to keep processing this information, and try to forget other stuff, because that's what takes up a lot of space in people's mind. It's like the other stuff that they haven't been able to, just leave that alone and concentrate on the stuff that you're learning, and you got to put in, look, man, it takes time. You can't learn at some kind of quick rate of speed. Sometimes I've had students, and they were students for a couple of years. Then one day, they looked at me and say, you know what, Shaykh? I got it. I got it now. I got it. And they just keep coming back just so that they can keep reaffirming. So, it's not that sort of thing, because if it was that easy, it would be useless. That's Dr. Yoshi tell me. He said, if it's that easy, who wants that? You want the thing that's difficult, the thing that, you got to work for it. That's what makes it good. And so, I don't know if I answered your question or not, but I did my best.
Alhamdulillah, Sheikh Ameen. Yeah, that was me that asked the question. Yeah, mashallah. Alhamdulillah, you answered the question. That was exactly what.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Mm-hmm. Just like, look, over there, I have Madhab Imam Malik from someplace in Africa. I got the Madhab Imam Malik from some place in Spain, and I go through those translations, and I'm terribly disappointed in what they're sitting out there telling them this is the Madhab Imam Malik. It's like they're trying to make some kind of shortcut, and they even use information, the weaker part of hadith, as if it's the bigger part of hadith. See? So that means that the ones who are teaching this subject were not taught by ulama. They may have learned these subjects from the madrasa in their village or something like that, But for the higher education, you want to take your lessons from the scholars, people that were taught to teach people. Any case, give me another question, inshallah.
Inshallah. If it's okay, Sheikh, I just want to give the people a little bit of nasiha. You don't have to go look here and there, because, we already did that. I sat with Shaykh Ameen. And then after I sat with Shaykh Ameen, I had the opportunity to read this book, sit with this one, that one. And it was like, we already did that. Shaykh Ameen already taught us something on such a high level that these things that people are promoting as the Maliki Madhab, this weekend class or this translation, you already have something 10 times higher than that. And if you talk to the writers of those books and the teachers of those classes, may Allah reward them. They trying their best, but they'll tell you, you got a chance to sit with somebody who's with Shaykh Ameen, who sat with Dr. Suleiman Dunya, Shara Sarir. What you got is beyond what we got. So don't waste your time.
Yeah, basically, I had the blind sheikh in Egypt.
Sheikh Abdul Rahman?
Sheikh Abdul Rahman. When I was in Egypt, and he realized that Dr. Dunya had sent me there for a purpose. And so, he was in the Sayyidina Zainab Masjid, thousands of Muslims, one of the biggest masjids in Egypt. And, I was trying to be invisible. I was sitting way back on the side, and somebody went to the front where he was at and told him, that American, the student of Dr. Dunya who got the papers, he's here. So he gave them some orders. Shaykh Abdul Rahman gave them some orders, and they made a row, a walkway, and he did like that and told me to come forward. So I didn't want to go, but the people that were sitting around me, they were like pushing me, go, he wants you, So I went there to sit down and talk to him. He speaks English very well. And he said to me, did Dr. you tell you about this or that? I said, yeah, well, and I used, the same way I'm talking to you is the same way I talk to them. I give them the information like he gave me, and, I'm not bending from that. So, he was shaking his head. So he said to me, you don't know, I was a young man. He said, you don't know what you have yet, but I'm going to give you some information. I'm going to tell you that whatever you know, Dr. Dunya, Rahmatullahi, gave you that information, no matter what nobody else says, don't follow it. No matter who they are, and that includes me, he said. See? So all I can tell you is that it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy to our people, because I can't figure it out. I have no idea why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send this information for me to give it to you. I have no idea. When I think about myself, I think about myself as lazy, good for nothing. I don't see myself the way you people seem to see me. And I don't think of myself in that way, but I do know that it's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his mercy, and that over these 50 years or more, I have never had any trained person try to give me a hard time in any kind of way about this information. If anything, I've had ulama visit my room in Egypt to ask me, did Dr. Dunya talk to you about so and so and so? How did he explain that? See? And they would go away as if that's exactly what they came for. So, I do my best to help you, but what Dr. Dunya used to tell me? He said, what he really disliked the most from the people is that he give them good advice, and then they go out and do whatever they want to do, and after they get things all screwed up, they're gonna come back to him to fix it. He said, well, this is backwards. He said, if they trust me that much, then why don't they just follow the first direction and they don't get into that problem. See? I know as I'm saying this, many of my students can say, you know, he's telling the truth because he told me, and I went on and did so and so anyway, and got all twisted, and then you know, now here I am trying to get him to help me fix it. So you know, Dr. Dunya really disliked that, and I also dislike it, but you know, I'm trained to just deal with it, and so. You know, unfortunately for the people, they're not getting the best benefit they could get. Because if they just left off other stuff and just followed the direction, it's like, look, I'm riding with somebody one day in their vehicle. And I see, you know, the lights that take pictures when you go through the light. So I tell them, I say, you know, that camera just took a picture of you and you're going to get a ticket in the mail. They said, yeah. I said, okay, but I'm telling you, this I know for sure. You're going to get a ticket in the mail. A couple of weeks later, they called me saying, hey, Shaykh, you know, I got that ticket in the mail. I said, well, I told you. When I seen I tell you, you know, stop, that's a light. You just went through the light, you know. In any case, that's the way I feel about the people I deal with, is that you're making your own problems, you know. It's like once when the Prophet ﷺ was going on Isra Miraj, when he went on Isra Miraj, the Jews came and they started questioning him about things. You know, like how could you go from Medina Munawwara or from Mecca to Jerusalem and then in the heavens to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that small amount of time? So they, you know, they was questioning him, asking him about different things that were in Jerusalem. You know, what we call the Dome of the Rock, Masjid Umar, yani, these type of things, you know, if you don't know specifically, and they knew he had never traveled outside of that area to those areas, so you know, how would he know? They said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as they were asking the questions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put that area like the way we look at TV, put it so that he could see it clearly, and he was answering them. He said, oh yeah, well, over there on that left side is this, that, and over here on the right side is that, and you know, over the head it says this, so that they knew it was a miracle. See, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him or let him go to this Ishra in Miraj in that small amount of time, and he absolutely went because you know, he answered all the questions. It's just as if he was standing right there at the time. So some of the things that come with this type of knowledge is an intuitiveness. That intuitiveness, you know, that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't read that in books and stuff, you know. And when it comes to you, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, he can show you things that people a lot of times they don't see it, and a lot of times they don't think you can see it either. So they just kind of ignore you. Either that, or they want to do what they want to do. So they ain't really listening. I can honestly say to you that I've had things that my teacher told me 30 years ago that after he told it to me and I kept a visual for it, it always happened. Always happened. He used to tell me, leave that brother, leave those people alone. They don't mean you any good. No, you just stay over here. Don't go over there because there's a problem over there waiting for you. Until, Yani, I started to really realize that he saw things that I didn't see. And as when he had to leave and then he left me and told me to do this work, then I started to realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the ability to see some things. But when I try to help people through it, some people listen. They'd be so thankful that they didn't find a big problem for themselves because they listen. And other people, they just go and keep going and going, and then they get all messed up, and then they go, Shaykh, I need your help. I'm like, well, what is it? Well, you remember you told me about so-and-so? Well, I ain't listening. Oh, come on, man. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do now? See? Okay. Dr. Habib?
Yes, Sheikh.
You want to ask me something else?
Yes, we got two. I have one question in the chat, but first I want to give Brother Frank a chance to ask his question. Inshallah.
Okay, Frank. Always you get to ask your question.
Alhamdulillah.
Shukran.
Inshallah.
I have 3 questions. The first,
Okay, one at a time.
The first one is back to your original conversation about asking forgiveness from people. During Ramadan, I understood that we're supposed to ask forgiveness from people. Is that the same forgiveness that you're talking about?
Well, Allahumma salli wa salam mubarak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. I don't, I can't answer you like that because it's like you're making my answer be a part of your question in a way that I would never have asked a question of that nature to answer that way. Because Ramadan itself is for asking the forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for, trying to, do things during that month that have multiple rewards, multiplied many times rewards. But most of those things, they say, is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why he's the only one who gives the reward for it. See? Whereas what I'm talking about doesn't have to do with Ramadan. It's for any time, day and night. Let's say you sleep in the middle of the night. It ain't Ramadan. It's another month. And in your sleeping, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he opened your heart and your mind and tell you, you was wrong. You should say something to that person about that. The real Muslims will do like, they'll take that advice immediately and to wake up and say, hey, wake up. I want to say something to you. I want to apologize for so-and-so, and I hope you don't hold it against me when we go before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, no, it's not about Ramadan. Ramadan, over and all, yes, it's a time, that we ask trying to get forgiveness. But what I'm talking about is a different type. It's only between the individuals. See, the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, he's going to leave that for each other, for each one. He's not going to interfere with the ruling on that. See? So, okay, what's the other question?
On a totally different subject, I was reading.
His voice keeps going too low.
Are we supposed to say the tashahhud silently?
Say it to me, Habib.
He's asking if we should say the tashahhud silently. You mean in salat, right, Frank?
Yeah, in salat?
Yes.
Yeah, it's silently.
And also, yes, thank you. And also, I see that it says, I also read that the Al-Fatiha is to be recited silently in the 3rd and 4th rakat of every prayer. Is that true?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Supran.
Okay, Afwan. Okay, what else do we have, Dr. Rasul?
Yes, we got a question. Someone asked, can Muslims be organ donors or organ recipients And can Muslims donate blood to blood banks?
Allahumma salli wa sallam mubarak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. So Muslims are allowed to help other Muslims as long as the donated doesn't threaten the life of the donor. See, if the doctor say, okay, well, you can donate this to your Muslim brother or sister, and you don't have to worry about it affecting your health, then you have the right, you can do it. But you're not allowed to commit or do a suicide trying to be benevolent to somebody else who will be able to live, but you're gonna die. So, if the doctor says, it's not gonna bother you to live, and the other person you're gonna give it to is a Muslim, because Islam doesn't, they don't want you, a Muslim, giving organs to a non-Muslim, because that non-Muslim could take your organ and turn out to be one of the greatest participants against Islam. So that's like helping the enemy. You understand? Okay. So in regards to things of blood, Islam allows the transfusion. And once again, they would prefer the transfusion come from another Muslim, but which is not always possible. But if it's an emergency that you have to have the blood, and and the doctor say, well, if you don't have this transfusion, you're gonna die, then we will take the blood.
Shaykh, can a Muslim donate blood to a blood bank?
To
a blood bank.
Well, no, they don't. They don't like us to do it that way, because when you do it to a blood bank, you don't know who's going to receive it. See, a blood bank, some people donate their blood. They're not donating it; they're selling it. See, so when I answer your questions, I have to go through a litany of answers that I've heard Dr. Junior explain to people, and the way he explained it. So, and then out of that, I have to try to get the one that is most, actually the most practical thing for these times. You have to remember that they didn't have the type of technology and these type of things, in those eras when these decisions became law, that they do now. See, so only under absolute necessity. But the blood bank, they don't like the blood bank because, the blood bank, it doesn't exactly serve the purpose for the believer, because you can be giving your blood to somebody who, they can be using your blood and then get stronger and start chopping off the head of Muslims. So we have to be a little careful with that one. As you like.
Shaykh, someone asked a follow-up question. I think maybe we know the answer to the question, but I'll ask it. They said, so can a Muslim be listed as a organ donor on their driver's license?
No, we're not organ donors. We don't do we don't donate organs after death. Listen to me. If somebody, like let's say Amir comes to me, he says, Shaykh, they told me I need a kidney, or else I'm gonna die. And I want to ask you to see if you are compatible with me, and if you are, and you go through the process, would you be willing to help me with that? So yeah, I'm here. Let's go to the doctor, see if we're compatible like that, and if so, you can have one of my kidneys, because they already told me that I could live with one. I don't have to have both of them. So if one will help you to live, let's do it. See? So, when you die, nobody asks you nothing. They just start taking out your stuff and divvying it out to somebody else. So we're not allowed to do it that way. I don't know what you would write on your driver's license. I don't even drive. I haven't had a license in so many years. But, we're not supposed to tell lies. So if they ask you, you tell them no. If I gotta donate anything, it gotta be while I'm alive, because I'm a Muslim. Gotta be while I'm alive, and I gotta know who I'm donating to. Period. As you like.
Alhamdulillah, Shaykh. I'm glad this person asked this question, because this is something when we go to get our driver's license, they always say, do you either put a Y for yes or an N for no? And I know at least me, before I took this information from you, I was always like, well, I don't know. I guess I want to help people, so maybe yes. But so now that people know, when you get your driver's license renewed, put no. We don't. We're not the organ donor. So that was a very practical question.
Yeah, for a Muslim, when death comes, all of that stuff stops. See, if you were gonna donate something to your spouse or your brother or your Muslim brother and sister, you're gonna do that while you're still alive. You're not gonna let the bank decide who's gonna get your organs. Astaghfirullah. Okay, as you like, because I'm getting tired.
Nah, I think we got one more question from Brother Amir, inshallah.
Yes, Amir.
You had your hand up, Amir?
Yeah, yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So just the last question. So regarding the signs of the times of the prayer. So say when, Asr comes in, the optional time of Asr begins, when the glowing of the sun, you can see the glow, that yellow glow from the sun. Is that also
time? That's not when the optional time begins.
That's not
you're thinking about the obligatory time of
okay,
Asr.
so that's the obligatory time. Okay, that's what all. Okay.
Don't worry about that. We're gonna do it next week. I'll get to that.
Okay.
Inshallah. What I want to tell you. Okay, it must not have been that important.
Right.
As you like.
Also, yeah, I remember a few years back, I was walking with a friend of mine. He wasn't Muslim. We was just going somewhere, and I had a doctor's appointment, and these people came to us in the street, getting us to sign up to do all kinds of things. So one of the people was like, "Yeah, we're doing this program where you can donate blood, and you can earn as much as like $50 to $60."
Yeah, people still have blood.
Yeah, so my friend, who wasn't Muslim, he encouraged me to do that. So, I went with my tuition. I said, that's, it's not me donating blood, that for profit, that's something that, Muslims don't really do, especially, me, I'm, a person that is, knowledgeable and have, certain other needs, rather than just donating my blood for profit. So, yeah, so I just wanted to make that statement. It's definitely something that we shouldn't be doing. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I thank you, Amir. But let me tell you guys something. If somebody's propping you to do something and they're not a Muslim person, unless it's like something, like if it's something specific, like let's say it's somebody who knows how to fix bikes, but they're not a Muslim, and you need your bike fixed. You don't say to them, well, I'm not gonna let you fix my bike because you're not a Muslim. I'll listen to what you say, and if it makes sense, okay, go ahead, fix the bike because that's your expertise. See? But in general, if you got a non-Muslim person trying to tell you, you need to do this or you need to do that. You should say to them, you don't know what nobody needs, because if you knew, you would be saying La ilaha illallah wa Muhammadur Rasulullah. So you could take your, information to somebody, who can use that. I can't use that, So, I love you all, man. You my brothers and sisters in Islam. I apologize because sometimes I know I'm a little bit difficult. I don't change. I've been ordered by the big people. Once I know something that I've learned for many times from Dr. Dunya, and then somebody else tells me something different, I have the right to just ignore them. Like whatever, I do it politely. I try to be polite, but if they keep pushing, I'll say, listen, man, you don't know what you're talking about. Just get out of my face with that. I don't want to hear it. See? In any case, I love you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I try to give you as much and good information as I possibly can. They got a saying like you can't please everybody all the time, And I'm not even trying to please you. I'm trying to give you the right information. What I'm trying to do in regards to pleasing is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But keep putting in this work. I was most impressed. I saw a teacher in the hospital teaching his class while he was sick in the hospital, and he had all these Pakistani. He had all these students around his deathbed, and the nurse saying, hey, you need to, stop doing this because he said, no, this is what I was created to do, and he died in the midst of that. I thought that was probably one of the greatest things I had ever seen, So if I go out in that way, alhamdulillah, because, I've come to terms with that's what I was created to do, to be that person who tries to give the good answers from Islam to help the people, especially my own people. Okay. I'm going to stop now, unless there's something that is of immediate necessity. اللهم إني أسألك من كل خير سألك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم وأعوذ بك من كل شر استعاذك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما سررنا وما لنا وما أنت عالم به من نار. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الماء وممات ومن فتنة القبر ومن فتنة مسيح الدجال ومن عذاب النار وسوء المصير. وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Something from a dab that it came back in my head, so it must be important. It is considered as bad etiquette or bad adab to keep asking someone personal business, something that, you can't help it in any kind of way or change it. And it is also considered bad adab, bad etiquette, to see someone traveling in the streets or something like that and say to them, where you going? See, it's not your business. That's bad. It's bad adab, because let's say that they going someplace, they don't want you to know where they're going. They have their own reason for it. And if you're going to keep bugging them about where you're going, you're going to make them tell a lie, because they don't want to tell you. See, they have that choice. They don't have to tell you, you know. You ask them other personal things, they don't have to tell you. So, you know, it's bad etiquette to pry into certain things. Just, you know, it's their business. It's not your business. Leave it alone. Bad etiquette. And so some people wonder, wonder why he ain't talking to me. Cause if you always want to know about their business, they don't want to be telling you all their business. Just, you know, leave it alone. It's not for you. Frank, if you need to come and see me, you can come. Because I can sense that, you know, you need some things. So, you know, don't worry about it. Don't feel no kind of way. You know, I told you before, I will help you, inshallah. Okay? You can come and see me. Make it convenient for yourself. I'm okay with you. You know, it's no problem.
Thank you.
And Dr. Rasul and many of my other students will tell you that's absolutely different than I normally do. Because I normally won't do one-on-one with anybody. It'll be like they have to find some other people to be in a class with them. You know, they used to accuse me. I didn't like the fact that people would try to accuse me, say, "Oh, you just taking that person because you propping them up to be the leader or something." You know, people are crazy. You know, but it took me a while to really realize that it's not about that. It's just like some people need more, you know, one-on-one attention. You know, they may not feel comfortable, you know, in a group setting. But they still need to get their information. So inshallah, I'm here to try to help you any way I can. Okay? All right. Am I good now?
You're great, Shaykh. Thank you so much for everything.
Alhamdulillah. I hope I did some good. And if you see me, inshallah, if you see me and we're standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, you're gonna worry about yourself. You're not even gonna worry about your family or nobody else. You're gonna worry about yourself and your condition. But once you get clear with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you look around, you look and see if you see me, and then you can start asking Allah.
Time for us.
You know, inshallah. Okay, I'll talk to you soon, inshallah. If you need anything else, you know, you can talk to, I got a lot of students. You can talk to all of those. You got a lot of students, and they'll all give you that information. Okay, salam alaikum.
Thank you, Shaykh.
Thank you, Sheikh.